Hello and welcome back. In today's episode, we're continuing down the Codex. We're going to start with Artur Suzerain. He was a Swordist revolutionary author, politician, and founder of the Republic of Swordland, who served as the first president of Swordland from 1923 to 1927. His brief leadership modernized Swordland into a secular democratic republic. He was imprisoned by General Suzerain after the military coup in 1927 and died tragically in prison when the building was set on fire during the Civil War in 1928. Artur S. Winsky came from a wealthy family of bourgeoisie and completed his education in Lesbia. He authored countless books that circulated all around Swordland, which were heavily inspired by the foreign writers of the Century of Revolutions, becoming an influential revolutionary figure in the century. He served as a member of the King's Parliament as part of the Republican faction. In 1920, he led the Republicans and advocated for the King to step down, which led to the King's oppression of the Republican faction and tightening his control on the Parliament, which already acted purely as an advisory body. In the following years, Artur traveled from town to town and gathered the public support for a full-on revolution in Swordland. In 1923, he marched with 100,000 revolutionaries on Hall Sword and was greeted by the first army that joined in with their march. In a matter of hours, the king abdicated the throne and Artur declared the end of the monarchy. Together with the new members of the Republican faction, he wrote a new constitution and created the Republic of Swordland in 1923, marking the end of the Century of Revolutions. Following the rising influence of the communists ahead of the first election, General Suzerain led a military coup against Artur Winsky's government and ordered his arrest, blaming him for bringing foreign ideologies into Swordland. He was stripped of his position and remained in prison until his death in 1928, when a fire broke out in Holsword prison during heavy fighting in the neighboring streets. Many still claim that this to be a planned attack. Honestly, I kinda bet it was a planned attack, but... Eduardo Afonso. Eduardo Afonso is a statesman, businessman, and politician who served as the third president of Swordland from 1949 to 1953. He was the leader of the United Swordland Party from 1946 to 1953. He is particularly famed for winning against Turkle Sol in the 46th Congress, bringing an end to Sol's domination of the USP. After studying civil engineering at Kingshill University, he briefly worked in the State Department for oil and gas planning in 1924. He later undertook postgraduate studies on energy planning and management in Arcadia between 1927 and 1929. He returned to Swordland after the end of the Sword Civil War and started working for the Gassam Corporation. He bought a large portion of the shares of the company that, after Contanan Partners pulled out, and was later elected as its CEO. During the construction of the Sol Dam, he worked as a project advisor, and in 1935 was appointed head of the Department of Energy under the Ministry of Economy. He joined the USP in 1940, and was elected as the executive committee of the USP in 1941. He stepped away from his active role as CEO in 1945 and became the chairman of the board after appointing a new CEO to direct the operations of Gassam. Afonso gained a huge following in a very short time after his campaigns for free market reforms, and in 1946 ran as a candidate for party leadership against Turkle Sol. He won the 46th Congress and became chairman of the USP. President Sol appointed him as vice president, and he became the de facto government leader as the president stepped back from politics. He later ran as presidential candidate in the general election of 1949 and was elected president. He was supported by influential figures like Chris Gross, Conrad Currency, and Walter Tusk, which are believed to have played a great role in the election as president. His term saw many market reforms that were implemented very quickly in his first year. He privatized several industries, brought tax cuts, relaxed immigration policies, and changed several of Turkle Sol's authoritarian laws to bring foreign investment to Swordland. However, he was faced with the economic recession of 1951, which quickly proved to be the worst economic crisis Swordland since the Swordist Civil War. Some claim the ineffectiveness of his economic reforms were the result of a conspiracy by the Old Yard. In 1953, his cabinet resigned after his inability to control the economic crisis. He resigned from politics after losing the party congress against Anton Rain. Upon his departure from politics, Afonso channeled his leadership and resources into his role as chairman at Gassam, and towards philanthropic efforts, established the Afonso Foundation. Turkle Sol. Tarkin Sol, Colonel Sol, is a military officer and politician who served as the second president of Swordland between 1929 and 1949. He is regarded by some Solists as the founder of the Republic of Swordland, since the first years of the Republic, between 1923 and 1927, were short-lived due to the Civil War. Sol assumed the post in 1929 by ending the Swordist Civil War, and taking control of the government under military rule. He is the founder of the United Swordland Party. He is regarded as the most significant and a controversial person in Swordland history. Tarkin was a colonel and commander of the 6th Army of the Swordish Armed Forces when General Ludern executed a military coup in 1927, which he did not join. Later in 1927, civil war broke out between armies of Swordish military as well as militant political organizations. Following this, Tarkin Sol and the 6th Army joined the war and managed to win several battles against both General Ludern and General Ricard. In January 1929, the 6th Army took control of Horsord and started pushing the rebels to the east. Later in the year, Tarkin Sol put an end to the Swordish Civil War, took control of the government, wrote a new constitution, and called the Grand National Assembly back to work. He formed the USP and went to elections with one party and became the president of Swordland. His first year saw many developments in Swordland, surpassing the pre-Civil War production levels. He invested heavily into infrastructure and healthcare and police forces. Many forgotten areas of Swordland were provided with services for the first time in their history during the Sol administration. He also addressed this much problematic energy problem of Swordland with the Sol Dam project in Suzerain, which triggered the 1933 Ism incident, a long conflict with Bluish separatists. After his first term as president, Tarkin called for elections in 1933 and ran as a candidate in the first ever elections of Swordland with multiple parties, which still resulted in a massive win for Tarkin Sol and the USP. In total, he won 5 elections and served as president of Swordland for 20 years. His later term saw further economic developments, along with an increase in political and racial tensions in Swordland. Many Bluish activists and politicians were banned or arrested. Communists were detained for suspected crimes against the state. The media was under his control and censored the opposing voices. Many different political parties entered politics to oppose Tarkin Sol's leadership, and several of them were closed down. In the 1940s, the opposition against Tarkin Sol reached new heights, triggering major protests against him within the USP. In the late 1940s, the new reformist wing in the party saw a great increase in influence and started to challenge Tarkin. In 1946, he lost leadership for it to Ewald Alfonso and resigned as the chairman of the USP. He went on to serve as the president of Swordland until 1949. After his resignation as president, he moved to reside in the Daru Islands at the mouth of the Gulf of Negris. He is currently the only person who holds the title Member of Honor, which gives him total immunity as well as an indefinite right to partake in the Grand National Assembly of Swordland. Family. Deanna Rain. Deanna Rain is the daughter of Anton Rain and Monica Rain. She's attending elementary school in Holsold. In a brief interview, Monica Rain said that she was named after her grandmother, who came in the 1960s to Swordland from Angola with hope to start a new life. That's nice. Frank Rain. Frank Rain is the son of Anton Rain and Monica Rain. He's currently studying at Holsold American High School. He's not even mentioned in an interview. Monica Rain is the current First Lady of Swordland. She was born in Latchaven to parents with Agno-Swordish background. She has a degree in sociology and has worked as a social worker and later as a partnership manager in Margus Cartes and campaign assistant of Swordish League of Women before her marriage to Anton Rain. Foreign leaders. Beatrice Livingston. Beatrice Livingston is the Queen of the Kingdom of Rimburg and self-proclaimed ruler of all of northern Mikopa. She has been the Queen of Rimburg since 1921, when she ascended to the throne at the age of 16 upon the death of her father, Alfred II. After her coronation, she has reigned as a constitutional monarch through major political changes, such as the centralization of the power of the kingdom, sexualization reforms, as well as the dissolution and integration of the northern territories into the kingdom. Her most notable action was the invasion of northern Angola and the annexation of Dome, which was executed by the Rimburg army in a single night. She was condemned internationally and was expected to pay reparations to Angola, which she rejected to do. Rimburg did not face any major repercussions for the annexation, and the calls for the reparations fell flat. and is regarded as one of the largest military and political victories of Nuremberg to this day. Beatrice gained infancy for selling weapons to the attackers and defenders during the Welland Civil War. She also received numerous international criticisms for pursuing expansionist policies and was blamed by Arcadia and United Cortana for playing both sides. Beatrice has occasionally faced Republican sentiments and criticism of the royal family, in particular after reforms which centralized the power of the kingdom, decreasing the authority of the Parliament of Nuremberg. Dwight Walker, an accomplished Arcadian politician and businessman with Nurembergian heritage, is the current president of the Republic of Arcadia. He is widely celebrated for devising the Walker Plan, which revitalized the economies of Mercpolian nations and for the foundation of the Arcadian Treaty Organization, ATO. Born into an influential Romish family in Virtue City, Arcadia, Walker pursued a degree in international affairs before enlisting in the Arcadian naval forces to defend the democracies of East Marcopa during the tumultuous century of revolutions. Following the conflict, Walker was elected to the Arcadian House of Representatives as a member of the Democracy Party. Walker is often hailed as one of the most popular presidents in Arcadian history, particularly for his transformative economic policies, which lifted a substantial portion of the population out of poverty. Under his leadership, Arcadia flourished, giving rise to the concept of Arcadian dream, and attracting numerous immigrants seeking a better life. Walker's staunch opposition to communism and Merovingism has further solidified his reputation as a symbol of liberty in the Western world. In the political realm, Arcadia is characterized by its ultra-capitalist and libertarian policies, which have led to minimal government intervention in business and the economy. These policies have contributed to the rise of influential corporate figures like Walker himself and have shaped the nation's trajectory. As a driving force behind the development of the Marcopian democracies, Walker has played a crucial role in fortifying the continent against the burgeoning superpower, United Cortana. His leadership in establishing the ATO as a bulwark against Moravianism has been pivotal, as has his strategic approach to containing United Cortana through key partnerships and development of anti-missile systems in countries neighboring Moravian nations. Emerch Hagel is a Bulgarian politician and communist revolutionary who currently serves as the Chancellor of the Democratic Republic of Valsland. He is also the chairman of the People's Party of Valsland. Hagel played a leading role in the 1920 revolution and established the Democratic Republic of Valsland. He was also responsible for many relatively liberal reforms in areas of domestic policy. Hagel was a political commissioner during the Vaglandian Revolution. He fought alongside the famous revolutionary Wilhelm Ulbeck, who led the revolution inspired by the Militia Revolution in United Cortana. Hegel extensively helped Ulbeck with the establishment of the People's Party. With Chancellor Ulbeck's help, he worked his way up the Volkslandish hierarchy. He supported Ulbeck's purges and the arrest of thousands of anti-communists in the 1930s. He worked extensively for decolonization of the Rika and Zia continents, convincing the governments to give military and financial support to various independent and revolutionary movements. After Ulbricht's death in 1940, he was elected by the People's Party as the Chancellor of Volgland. He started a period of de-Ulbrichtisation, where he denounced his purges, de-Stalinization, which he supported, denounced his purges, which he supported earlier, and enacted many reforms which started a less repressive era in Valsland. He reorganized the People's Party and distanced it from the Malinist lines. He promoted what he called Valslandian socialism. Despite his reforms that sent Valsland away from Malinism, he brought the country closer to United Cortana, both economically and diplomatically. He also greatly improved the relations with the old colonies of the Valgos Empire. Leon Melvivchavkwenua, whatever, I'm not going to be able to read that. He's Leon. Leon is a Cortanan revolutionary politician and political theorist who has been serving as the head of government of United Cortana since 1910. He's an architect of Malianism, a unique variant of Marcian socio-economics. Leon played a significant role in transforming Contania and subsistency United Cortana. into a communist state governed by the Cortana Communist Party. Born into a poor family in the Cortanian Empire, now part of the United Cortana, Leon was drawn to revolutionary socialist policies following his brother's execution. He relocated to Chihuahua in 1901, where he became a senior theorist of the Marcian socio-economics, inspired by Carlos Marcia's political theory. Leon developed Maliaism upon joining the Marcian Cortanan Labor Party. Leon was instrumental in the party's ideological split, leading the Roski faction against other factions, promoting Maliaism within the party. He advocated for the transformation of the century of revolutions into a Cortana-wide proletarian revolution, which he believed would result in the overthrow of capitalism and the replacement with socialism. Leon led the Rotskits during the 1907 revolution, ultimately declaring a communist republic and deposing the king. Under Leon's leadership, United Cortana underwent rapid industrialization, collectivization, through the implementation of the command economy, and the pursuit of socialist reforms. This strategy led to the development and modernization of the entire continent. Leon's ideology has been adapted and interpreted in different schools of thought worldwide, with the number of Marco Malevicis steadily increasing, committing his position as one of the most influential leaders of the century. Leon is particularly renowned for his massive education and science plan, which has elevated United Cortana to a position of technological superiority in the region, rivaling Arcadia. Through his commitment to education reforms and investments in scientific research, United Cortana has emerged as a powerhouse in technological innovations, driving economic growth and solidifying its status as a global superpower. Martijn van Houteren is an Agnolian politician who currently serves as the Prime Minister of the Republic of Agnolia. He is the youngest politician to hold office in the government of Agnolia. Van Houten became the leader of the centrist Nurse Democratic Union of Agnolia in 1951, after an extensive campaign to bring Agnolia's economy out of recession. He has been a staunch promoter of privatization and relaxed immigration laws. After his election as Prime Minister in 1952, he promised to find new trade partners and replace old unjust treaties with fairer ones. During his first years as Prime Minister, he brought Angola closer to the West, signing mutual cooperation agreements with Arcadia and Lesbia. He strongly promoted the free movement of people across Mercopia and increased Agnolia's presence in the OMEC and the Alliance of Nations. During Van Houten's term, Agnolia's steel production greatly increased, and the volume of Agnolia exports to Western Mercopian countries doubled. In order to strengthen Agnolia's economy and its independence, he started a new initiative to govern new natural resources in the Marquian Sea. Following the discovery of oil in the territorial waters of Agnolia in 1953, he ordered the building of a massive fleet of oil tankers and drilling ships, while also increasing the investments of the Agnolian Navy. His quick expansion of the Navy and increased Agnolian presence in the Marquian Sea has further deteriorated the country's relations with Vagsland. Okay, where was I? Agnolia, yep. Patricio Alvarez is a Lesbian politician and business magnate who currently serves as Prime Minister of Lesbia. In 1950, the Hours magazine ranked him as the 100th richest man in the world. Alvarez's business career began in construction with his company Alvarez Industries. In the late 1930s, he built the famous Alvarez Towers, where he based his business, and Felquira 5, a development of 5,000 residential apartments in the city of Flinco. He was investigated by the Lesbian Anti-Corruption Force for profiteering in 1940, but the investigations were dropped the same year when he entered into the Democrazia Lesbia as a member of the Lesbian Parliament. He has reportedly admitted that he entered politics as to avoid imprisonment. Alvarez was elected as leader of Democrazia Lesbia and launched a massive campaign of electoral advertisements on all Lesbian channels through his network of connections into the 1940 elections and was elected as the Prime Minister of Lesbia. His term saw major tax concessions, removal of many state regulations, and a general improvement of the Lesbian economy. One of the biggest achievements of this term was Lesbia's membership approval in ATO. He was elected again in 1953. Wiktor Smolek is Wixix politician who currently serves as the president of Welland. In addition, he is the commander-in-chief of the Welsh Armed Forces. He is known as the commitment of the Welsh nationalism with socialist characteristic. He is the third president to rule Welland after the departure of the Arcatian troops in the aftermath of the Welland Civil War. He was the leader of the National Nurse Alliance of Welland until 1930, which heavily promoted Welsh nationalism and nurse traditionalism. After the failures of the previous post-war presidents in lifting the country out of economic recession, he formed his own political party, Welsh Nationalist Party of Nurse Socialism in 1932, which combined religious nurse politics with Welsh nationalism and socialism. After a decade of internal leadership struggles, Smolik was elected president in 1943. During his first years as president, Smolik oppressed and persecuted most of the opposition, censored the Welsh press, and seized the assets of multimillionaires. As a staunch anti-Arcatian, he blamed the Royalists, Liberals, and the Democrats for the Civil War and the subsequent Arcatian invasion. Despite being an anti-Malevius before the Civil War, he brought Welland closer to United Cortana, which helped him bring the country out of the recession with the financial aid coming from the SCP. Smolik's aggressive promotion of Welland nationalism and nurse politics also resulted in the oppression of ethnic and religious minorities in Welland. His rule was marked by thousands of Bluish people being arrested and killed, as well as military actions against the Bluish Freedom Front, which set up bases in northwestern Welland. Well, interesting ideas for you. Interesting. I think party leaders we've seen. Dennis, no, maybe not. I mean, you'd think they'd be like those, but no. I guess they're different things. Others. Alfred Kurtbug. I think this is actually a good time to go ahead and end this episode. We'll do others and party leaders and continue on in the next one. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.